All right, guys, now we're ready for the second part of your tutorial on how to make a summer-themed flat design. So before we created the surfboard, the umbrella, and the beach towel. So you should still have these three objects here over in your layers. And the other objects that we have left to make are the sunglasses, crabs, seashells, and background. You're going to have a little patience with me while I'm teaching you these last three big objects, because unlike these objects here, I had a tutorial that somebody else had created that I followed. But for these three objects, I just learned how to make them myself. And so I'm going to show you how I learned how to do it. So this is what our goal is to get something like this. And these are the objects that I was playing around creating so that I can show you how to make these for your design. So let's start with the sunglasses. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the visibility off for the beach towel, surfboard, and umbrella so that I have a blank canvas to work on. And I want to make sure that I am on my sunglass layer so that the sunglasses that I create will be here on this section. So I'm going to start with first having you advance your tools. So we have, I'm going to make sure that's maximized. We have the basic tools right now, but there are so many more tools that Illustrator has that I want you to have access to those. So if you come down here to where these three dots are, that's where you can edit your toolbar. And I want you to see that these are all of the tools that Illustrator uses. So over here, we can switch it from a basic to advanced. And now you'll notice that I have more availability for my tools here. Yours might look slightly different because I was playing around with this earlier, so some of them, like the puppet warp tool I was using, and I was playing around with these tools here, so they might have a different icon for you than what I have. So we're going to start with an ellipse, so over here to where our shape tools are, and we just want the ellipse, and I'm going to make it about, doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to make it, before I had 76 by 43, but really, I'll go ahead and make that, and then we can come over here and change the size. So after you draw your ellipse, let's do 76 by 43. And this has an orange color right now, but I want to do a red. So I'm going to change this to a nice bright red for the sunglasses, and that code is FF0000. There we go, nice red for our sunglasses. Now I'm going to choose my select tool and just kind of move this where I can have it. Now I'm going to add an anchor point over here on this side, because what this is it's going to be the basic shape of the lens. So over here where my pen tool is, I'm going to add an anchor point. So you could just use the pen tool, or you could do a right click and choose add anchor point, and I'm going to add it about right here, and that's going to be the part of the sunglasses you see here that kind of extends outward. So we're going to shape that red ellipse to look like that outline there. All right, so now I need to use my direct selection tool, and right where that anchor point that I added, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag that out just a little bit, and then I'm going to alter the shape of the sunglasses using these anchor points to kind of be the shape that I imagine a pair of sunglasses to be. So you can alter yours the way you want it to be. I'm just doing some minor adjustments. We started with just the basic oval shape and then added that to kind of pull it out where the earpiece would go. I think that looks good there. I'm kind of liking that. So a pair of sunglasses obviously is going to have 2 lenses. So I'm going to copy this and reflect it. So there are several options that we can do that with. I'm going to show you the easiest way. You can always do copy paste, which is Command C, then Command V. You can hold down Alt and then drag it over and then flip it. But if you come up here to Object, go to Transform, Reflect, and we're going to do a vertical reflection and just do copy. And so now I pull that aside. Now you see that I have a perfect reflection, a perfect copy and reflection of that lens. So I'm going to move it over here a little bit closer, and I'm going to zoom in. So if you hit Command then plus, you can zoom in so you can really see what you're creating. And if you notice over here on these sunglasses, I have this little ridge piece right there. So you notice also that on these sunglasses I have them pulled down a little bit more, but it all depends on what kind of sunglasses you want to make. You just want to make sure that you get the base shape here and then do that object, reflect, copy so that it's an exact match. But I kind of like these sunglasses the way they are. So now I want to build that middle piece that goes in here. So I'm going to do another ellipse, and I'm just going to put it in here like this. Kind of put it in the position that I want. Obviously it does not look like it should, so we got to do some adjustments to it. So we're come back up here, and I'm going to add an anchor point because I need to modify that section there, and I want to modify that section there. So once you have your anchor points of what you want to modify, then you use your direct selection tool. Come over here and let's just pull that out. Pull it out like, oops, not quite as high as what I wanted it to be. Remember Command Z, it's your friend. So I did mess up a little bit, so I did Command Z. I'm going to Command Z again because, there we go, could not actually see what I was doing. That's where zooming in really helps you out. So I'm just going to keep pulling this until it lines up the way that I want with those sunglasses. Now remember that if you are on your direct selection tool, if I wanted to move this down, I will not be able to do that using the direct selection tool. So you got to use your selection tool. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Still not perfect, but you know what? I think it'll work. Go back to my selection tool because over here you can see how it kind of curves up for that nose piece to go. So that is this anchor point. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to kind of curve it up. Maybe too much. There we go. That one still is bugging me. Almost the way that I want it, and just a little bit of fine tuning. You can spend forever working on this, but don't spend too much time because as soon as you back up a little bit, you'll see that it looks pretty good. So it's up close, it kind of gets a little funky. All right, so now that we have the base of our sunglasses, we've got the nose piece, the bridge there, and we've got our 2 lenses, or the frame part of it, then we need to do the lenses. But I want to make sure that these 3 individual pieces are going to act as one piece. So I could grab all 3 of them and group them, but I don't just want the objects grouped. I want it to be united as one. So I will use my selection tool, draw that box to make sure I have all 3 pieces selected. Come over to Pathfinder. Remember, if you closed it, you just have to go back to Window and find it and open it back up. And I'm going to come here to Unite. And once I click Unite, you see that now I have one piece instead of those 3 individual pieces. So this is now one object, which is what I want. All right, now it's time for us to go ahead and put the lenses in. So hopefully you can tell that what we need here is just an oval. So come back over to my oval, and obviously the color is still red. So I'm going to change my color. I don't want it to be perfectly black. If you go to perfect black, that's all zeros. I want a little bit of gray to it. So the code that I'm going to use is 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. And that gives it a little more of a gray color. All right, so now I'm going to draw where I want my lens to be. And it is not perfect because I'm going to have to adjust it just like we did before. But you're getting the base shape right now. I'm going to zoom in, so Command plus. And you can see I need to adjust right here a little bit and over here. So I better add my anchor points in. So those give me the areas to adjust. And I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more just in case I want to pull on those sides. So you got to make sure you have those anchor points if you're going to pull on it a little bit or adjust it. All right, go back to my direct selection tool. And I definitely want this to kind of come up here. And I'm going to form it around the same size as my frames. This one needs to come out just a little bit around that. There we go. And I think it looks good, but until I kind of zoom out to see, I'm not going to really know. So I actually want that lens to go out a little bit more. With your sunglasses, you can make them how you want. Just know that if you spend forever on it, which is very easy to do, then you lose time on everything else. So sometimes it's just, okay, it's good enough. And I think that's where I'm at now. So I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, so I can see how it is. I'm going to click off. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I'm happy with it. It'll work. So I'm going to do the same thing with this lens as I did when I was doing the frame. I need to make an exact copy and reflect. So go to Object, Transform, Reflect, Copy. Then I move that. You make sure my smart guides are helping me with making sure it is the same location on the opposite side. It's a little funky flipping it over. Let me see. Yep. I think that will work. Maybe not. Okay. Good enough because once I zoom out, not even going to really tell. It does look like that top is a little off, but I think it'll work. All right, so now we have the base shape for our sunglasses, but you notice over here, I've got this little reflection part. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You need to zoom in so you can really see one of the lenses. And this time we're going to get a rounded rectangle, and we're going to draw it on top of the lens. And to get this effect here, where it goes from one color to another, that's your gradient. So let me show you how we do that. So making sure my rounded rectangle is still active, come over here, this is your gradient, and you click on that, and this is automatic. It was on, show you up here. No, it's not going to show me there. This was a black and white gradient, but you have other options. So if you don't see this over here, the gradient, that's in your window. So come up here to Window, choose your gradient, and then you can see all these other options that you can choose. So you can do a gold dust, which gives you these colors that you can change if you need to. A blue sky, that's kind of cool. And this one's cool because the opacity is lowered on it, so it shows more of the background behind it. But I do want to do the white and black gradient there. And what I want to do is make sure that the sliding section is how I want it to be. So I can adjust. You can see that I can make it get darker or lighter as it goes. And this one here is, I believe, pure black, and I don't want that pure black. Yeah, there it is there. So let's change that back to the base color we had, 30, 30, 30. And then that kind of lightens it up a little bit, because that pure black was almost too much. All right, now I'm going to go back to my selection tool and kind of take a look. Obviously, we don't want this part sticking out there. So what we're going to do is divide with Pathfinder so we can cut those sections out that we don't want. So we have to make sure that we have this part selected. Hold down Shift and then select your lens. You do not want the frame, you just want the lens and your gradient. Come to Pathfinder and hit Divide. And now we're going to cut this away, so that's Shift M. Hold down Alt, so we go from plus to minus, and we get on the section we don't want. We're going to click on that to get rid of it, and click on that to get rid of it. Go back to our selection tool, and there we go. Now let's see if we can make a copy of this. It might not match perfectly, but we're going to see if it'll work. Right now these things are grouped, so I don't want them grouped, because you can see when I go to grab it, it grabs everything. So if you have something where it's grouped together, to ungroup it, you can always just come up here to Object and Ungroup, but the shorthand is Shift Command G. So I'm going to do Shift Command G, and now that ungroups it. I can grab just that one piece, and I'm going to come over here to Object, Transform, Reflect a Copy, and let's move this copy over. We got to fit it in perfectly. So make your adjustments. You can always use your arrow keys on your keyboard. That'll help you too with your fine adjustments of it. I cannot get mine perfect, but you know what? I think it'll work just fine. All right, I'm going to zoom out. And now I've got my pair of sunglasses. They're not exactly like the other sunglasses that I made. You can see I got that pair there. So I've got like 3 different versions of sunglasses, but it doesn't matter because you know that there are so many different kinds of sunglasses out there. If you don't like the red color, you can always change the color. So let me show you an easy way to do that. You want to make sure you just have that selected, the frames. You can come over here to your color picker. Say you want a pair of blue sunglasses. Maybe you want a pair of purple sunglasses. There you go. So it's just a matter of choosing the color that you want. I'm going back to my red though, so I'm going to Command Z till I get back to my red. Now one last thing to do is we want to make sure everything is grouped. So I'm going to grab the whole thing and do Command G to group it. And find my layers seem to have disappeared. There they are. I'm going to pull everything else back up because I want to place my sunglasses on my artboard. They're kind of big, so I'm going to actually shrink it a little bit. So I'm going to hold down Shift. If you see that if I do this, my sunglasses, the ratio of height to width gets a little nuts. But if you want to maintain that ratio, you hold down Shift, and then you see that it will keep that size. So I'm just going to shrink them a little bit. Looks good so far. So now let's go to our crabs. So I'm going to lock everything so I don't accidentally mess it up. And then let's go to the crabs. Now, this was a lot of fun making these little crab dudes. I was trying to follow a tutorial for these in the seashells, and it was an old tutorial using old Illustrator stuff. So I was like, forget it. I can just do it myself. So that's what I did. So let me show you how I did it. I think they're really cute. And they're really kind of fun to do. We're going to start with an ellipse again. And the size doesn't have to be exact because we can always shrink it or enlarge it based on what we want. But I started with one that was about 152 by 93. So if you do want to match yours, do that. Come up here to shape, 152 by 93. And the color that I used first was the orange color. So I'm going to come over here, my color picker. It is F47340. It's that orange, kind of like what we had on the surfboard. All right, so now what we're going to do is add some anchored points to get us into that base shape that we have for it. So you can see here that I had to pull down on this side, and I needed these sides over here to come out. So I already have an anchor point right there. Let me get my selection tool. And I have my anchor points right there. So I don't really need to add anything right now. I am going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So I want to kind of, oops, got to grab it. I want to kind of bring them up a little bit because it had a, you can see that it came up a little bit more there. And here I'm just going to pull this down just a little bit. Not a whole lot of adjustment needs to be done on our oval. So it kind of looks like a, sorry, I'm trying to get rid of my email notice. It kind of looks like a dog's nose. So that's our base shape of what we're trying to go for. So that one looks good to me. So now what we need to do is create the eyes. So the eyes, you can see, are really a rectangle, a circle, another circle, and another circle. That's all it is. Super, super simple. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to do one eye because we can always just copy and reflect, or copy and move it over. I'm going to move it down just a little bit, or you can make it smaller. Doesn't matter because we can always adjust. So now I'm going to do my first circle that goes on the top. And you'll know that you have a perfect circle when you have that horizontal and vertical bars there. And I do want it to be a perfect circle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because you can see it's not centered. Now it is. So you want to line up that center point, use your guides, and it'll tell you when you've got it centered. Now I need another circle, but this time we want it to be black. Come down here and choose black. And I'm going to draw another circle there. Just a little bit bigger, I think. There we go. Move it in place. And one more circle, this time white. I'll select my ellipse tool and come up here to white. And this is going to be a teeny tiny circle. Just a little reflection dot. There we go. So I think his eye is sticking up a little too much. So what I want to do is actually I want to combine this orange part here and this rectangular part there. So I'm going to select my orange, don't select the black or the white, hold down shift and select that rectangle, and let's unite that so we have one object now instead of two. Oops, you know what's going to happen as soon as I move this? This moves, but the black and the white won't. So I'm going to grab all of them. Yeah, make sure this doesn't get selected, just these things. Now I can move them all down. Looks good. I think that looks good. So I want to make a copy of this, but I'm going to make sure that they're grouped. Right now they're not. So if I grab just those sections and not this, Now I can do Command C, which is copy, then Command V, which is paste, and there's my new eyeball. I want to make it so that it matches, and that works for me. Yay! So now we've got our eyeballs for a crab. You can adjust your eyes if you want them sticking up a little bit more, if you want them closer together. It's up to you. I think I will move them a little closer together. Ah! Left my eye away. I gotta grab them, make sure they're grouped. Little minor adjustments. There we go. All right, now it's time for the claws. So with the claws, we need to have, I'll see if you can figure it out. So I've got, this was just a circle that I cut in half. This was a circle cut in half. Then I used, this was a rectangle that I adjusted, and then I added another rectangle that was adjusted that way. So let's go ahead and do our circle first. So we want the regular orange color. And about that size looks good. I didn't see exactly what it was, but it looks like it's 27 by 27. Again, yours doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but you do want it to be a circle. And I'm going to cut off half of it. So the best way to do that is to get a line segment. So over here, make sure you have your line segment, and I'm going to draw a line perfectly through. Watch the angle. It needs to be 270 degrees because that's a straight line through it. So now get your selection tool. We're going to grab both these things, the circle and the line. Come over here and divide. And now, oops, got to use my direct selection tool. Now I can pull. It's not doing it. There we go. Now I can pull them apart. So you could, if you want, recolor and resize this to that darker orange that we have. Come back over here to this one. Or you can just make another circle and do it again, but I'm actually going to just reuse what I have. I'm going to recolor this with that dark orange, and that code is ED480F. So now I have a dark orange one and a light orange, but I need this one to be smaller because you see on the how the crab's claws are that one of them is smaller. So I want to maintain my ratio. I don't want it to alter. So I hold Shift and then I drag it in to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to rotate it and put it together like that. Oh, it's a little too small, don't you think? That keeps wanting to combine with the other one. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger now that I can see how it is. And bring it up. Man, it keeps wanting to group. It's driving me nuts. I'm doing Shift Command G so it will not group. I'm ungrouping it. There we go. Putting it in, adjusting it the way that I want. It looks almost like I need to squeeze it down a little bit. All right, make your adjustments for your claws. And zoom in a little bit so I can make sure that I can see what I'm doing. Getting them in. If you have this dark red point is on top of the light orange, what you'll want to do is make sure it's selected. You can do a right click on your mouse and do a range and then send to back. And that makes sure it goes behind that part there. All right, so now you see we got the claws. So now we're going to make the arm. So again, that was just a rectangle that I altered, and then I put a smaller rectangle on top. So let's get a rectangle. Draw a long one, long enough that it's going to reach down to the body. And I'm going to rotate it, move it to make sure that it will work lengthwise. I think it will. Color-wise, I want it to be this color. So I'm going to come over here to my eyedropper tool, and having this selected, then I eyedrop onto the color that I want, and it changes it. You can see that it is now on top of my claw, and I want it underneath, and I want it underneath here. So I'm going to do that. Right-click, arrange, send to back, and now it should be back behind. All right, let's make our adjustments now. So I want this to be adjusted inward. You can see over here that it kind of curves together that way and curves out. So let's put some anchor points in for us to do our adjustments. So I put one here and there, and then I put 3 more here, one right even with the center, and then these are pretty much even on that side. All right, now let's start adjusting. So using my anchor point tool, or my direct select tool, now I can start adjusting the arm a little bit. Needs to be a little bit bigger down here towards the body. And this does not have to be perfect, guys, because it is going to look different. I'm going to zoom out because I can't really see how it's looking together. Ooh, it's looking a little funky, I think. I think my whole claw is too small. I'm going to make it bigger. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so that's the base part of the claw, and then I want a little orange part down here, or the darker orange, you can see. So now I'm going to make another rectangle. And it's not going to be too big. Use my eyedropper because I want it to be that dark red. And let's go ahead and rotate it. I'm going to set it on top there. And you can see that I did just minor adjustments just to kind of fit it around. So let's get our direct select tool. And actually I need to add my anchor points first, sorry. Now my direct select tool, so that I can start adjusting this out. I want this to form with the arm that I already have. So you can see I'm just going in and kind of matching it up to that body. Super minor adjustments, and zoom out so I can see how it looks. Not too bad. I think my arm looks kind of short. What do you guys think? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just being too picky. So it's all up to you. The cool thing about these crabs is that you can adjust them the way you want them to be. But I'm actually kind of happy with that arm. So obviously my little crab dude needs an arm on this side. So in order to do that, I'm going to grab just the arm, and let's go up here to Object, Transform, Reflect, a Copy, and take that copy and put it over here. I grab everything again. Oops, I grabbed the crab by mistake. There we go. If it makes it so that it's not grouped together, make sure you grab all the pieces and then group them. That'll work. Okay. Now for the little legs. So for the little legs, what I did was I made one leg like this. I copied it 4 times, and then with the last 2 I had those flipped, and then I added that little section down there. So we're just going to start with one leg. So we're just doing a rectangle again. Oops, a little far out. And we just did adjustments. I did adjustments on it. So I want it to be about that long. I do want my color to be the dark orange. And let's do some tweaking on this. Okay, so one of the things that we will need to do to tweak it is it needs to kind of come up to a point, and then to make it look like a leg, we need this to be kind of like an elbow that goes in. So let's get our direct selection tool and add an anchor point up here because we want that to be a point. We want a little elbow, and that should be good. All right, so up here, let's now make this look like it's coming out. This part needs to come in a little bit. That's a little crazy there. I'm just adjusting the legs. Now, one thing that I'm going to want to do is these are very sharp angles. And if you notice over here, they're more curved. So that's one of the reasons why it's looking so funky. So in order to get that so it looks more natural and more curved, once I get my adjustments made, I'll show you how to make curves. So come over here and click on one of your parts that you want, and then up here at the top we're going to convert that to a curve instead of a point. I'm going to do that for all of my angles, and now I'll do some little more minor adjustments, getting my leg the way I want it to be. Want that a little bit fatter. Again, if your leg starts to look freaky, you can always do Command C if it's not the way you want, if you messed it up. And it's never going to look perfect. The more you try to make it perfect, sometimes the worse it looks. So I'm actually going to stop right there. I think that looks good enough. Zoom out a little bit so I can see it. I do need this to be behind that. So I'm going to do my right click, arrange, send to back. There we go. And I'm going to just adjust the angle a little bit. Perfect. So now I need 3 of these. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to hold down Alt, which is, or Option, it's next to your Command. I'm going to drag another one down, makes a perfect copy, get it in place the way I want it to be. And now I'm going to take this one, and I want to reflect a copy, so I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect, Horizontal this time, a copy. There we go. But of course, I need to kind of angle it like that, rotate it, go away, go away. Sorry, that will not go away. There we go. And then now I need another one, so I'm going to click, hold down Alt, click again, and then make my adjustments of rotating where I want this leg to be. That one still needs to be moved. And if they're too big, that one seems like it was kind of big, so I just adjusted the size. Same for that one. And zoom out so I can see. That one looks like it's big. He needs a smaller leg there. All right, so test it with what I had. Looks a little good. I think that one needs to be moved up a little bit closer, and that gives me room to angle that guy down. So now all I need to do is add that little orange section, the lighter orange. So I'm still making my adjustments. Okay. Now let's make that little orange part. So that's nothing more than just a rectangle, about the size of that. Use my eyedropper tool because I want it to be that lighter orange. And now I can put it in place on top of there. And let's use our anchor point or direct select on all of our anchor points to make those little adjustments so that it looks a little more like a rhombus then. Ah! Did not want you to move. There we go. Let's see how it came out. Not perfect, but you know what? It's going to work. He's got little funky legs, I think. So I'm just going to grab all of my legs and all the parts because obviously he needs more over here. So object, transform, reflect, vertical, copy, grab, uh-oh, gotta grab them all. No, Command Z, because I messed them all up. Yeah, try that again. Let's actually, you know what, I'm gonna group all those things. Let's try that. So grab each leg, hold down Shift, grab each one, and then let's group them, Command G. Now, let's arrange, reflect, vertical, copy. Now I can grab all of my legs together. But notice what it did. It is now brought all of my legs in front of my crabby. So I'm going to adjust my crab's body. Grab it, do arrange, and we want the body to be in the front. So do bring front, bring to front. And now we can adjust. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, I know what happened. I was on my direct selection tool instead of my selection tool. So it changed the size. And there we go. His legs are really funky, but that's okay. All right, so now that I have my little crab, let's bring everybody else back into view. Oh, you know what I didn't do? That back. Forgot to grab our crab and group him all together. So Command G, so that now I can move him instead of messing everything up. And let's see all of our artboard. Oops, where's my beach towel? There we go. There's our little crab. Yay! He looks kind of big and fat, so I'm going to just shrink him up a little bit. I don't want a big fat crab all over the place. There we go, a little bit better. Now we can make copies of the crab so that you can have several on your little beach scene. So just make a copy. So you can do Command C, then Command V, and voila, you got another crab. And you can make this one be a little baby crab. There you go, you got a daddy crab and a baby crab. And let's make a mama crab, but you know what I want to do? I'm going to make my copy, Command C, Command V. But this one I want to be blue because I really like that blue crab there. So let me show you how to do that without having to make a brand new crab. If you want to make a brand new crab, that's fine. You can adjust everything, but let's just change the colors of this crab. So I am going to ungroup it. That is Shift Command G. I don't want my crab grouped because I want to select everything that's this light orange. I'm going to grab that. So I hold down Shift and select all of those parts. Hopefully it is not getting the parts that I don't want. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I think it did grab everything. Yes, it did. And you know how I could tell that is because over here there's a question mark. So the computer's saying it doesn't know what color because all of those colors are selected. So I need to make sure it is ungrouped again. Okay, let's try this one more time. Just those light orange parts. Did it again. You know why? Because these legs are grouped. So I got to ungroup them. Now, you can always zoom in too to get a little closer. It's not doing it because those legs are grouped. Ah! Sorry, guys. This is frustrating sometimes. Try this one more time. Oops, didn't grab that one. Only the light orange. Maybe it would be faster just to make a new crab. There we go. Now I only have light orange because the computer recognizes all of those points. So let's do that dark blue that I had. And it was, or actually this was a light blue. It was 4C7A8E. Ooh, that's not the same color, but you know what? I'll take it. And then now I want to get this dark orange to be another color. So I'm going to grab all of those. Remember to hold down Shift as you select so it'll add them all in your selection. And it is 0C5575. That's not the same blue that I had before. I thought it was the same code, but you know what? I don't care. It works. Let me group that little crabby together now, and now I've got a blue mama crab. There we go. Yay! So it took a while to do the sunglasses and the crabs. So all we have left are the seashells in the background. So we're going to go ahead and end this part of the tutorial. And then if you have time left, you can go ahead and start the next tutorial and we'll see how to make those seashells and that sand background for our final piece.